You're listening to the Ballroom Network. The following program is intended for all audiences. Welcome to the South Burbs Hitmen podcast with your hosts, Joe Mandel, Steven Zimmerman, and Vinny Parisi. We're bringing you the White Sox coverage you need from the perspective of true Southsiders. Grab your Comiskey dog with an ice-cold beer and meet us in section 155. Everyone get on your feet. You're listening to the Ballroom Network. The following program is intended for all audiences. Welcome to the South Burbs Hitmen podcast with your hosts, Joe Mandel, Steven Zimmerman, and Vinny Parisi. We're bringing you the White Sox coverage you need from the perspective of true Southsiders. Grab your Comiskey dog with an ice-cold beer and meet us in section 155. Everyone get on your feet for your South Burbs Hitmen.
That ball hit deep. Way back. You can put it on the board. Yes. Jimenez in the air. Left field. He's your hero tonight. Thanks, Cubs.
Over the head of Jenks. Uribe charges throws. Out! And the White Sox have won the World Series.
Alexei! Yes! 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 History! A perfect game by Mark Burley, and what an unbelievable play by Dwayne Wise.
First pitch starts now.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of South Burbs Hitmen. I'm your host, Joe Mandel, and I'm usually joined by my White Sox brother-in-arms, Vinny Parisi and Steven Zimmerman. Vinny is on a well-deserved vacation this week and will be back next week. My other co-host, Steven Zimmerman, will be here in a little bit, but we're going to get things up and running anyway. And what better way to start the show than introducing our guest? You know her from White Sox Twitter, from SouthSide Behavior. She has a couple drinks every once in a while on that channel. You might see them. But I'd like to welcome Missy Carroll to the show because she's just awesome and she loves the White Sox more than almost anybody on the platform. What's up, Missy?
What's up? Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. Almost a year to the date the last time you were on.
Literally, you guys were my first podcast I went on. And yeah, we're running it back, year 2.
Look at that. It humble beginnings.
Yeah.
And you've been a bit of an eruption on social media, particularly Twitter.
Yeah.
And of course, I follow your TikTok as well, which is absolutely hilarious. If you guys don't, I believe it's just SouthSide Behavior. What's the tag for it on TikTok?
Literally just SouthSide Behavior.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah. Lots happened since we last talked.
Yeah, just a little bit. But one thing that a lot of people would agree is that the White Sox are still underperforming a year later. But it's a bit more of a roller coaster this year than it was last. I mean, last year they just kind of underperformed all year. This year we can't decide if they're good or not because a couple of shows ago we were talking about how they were done. They were toast. They're the worst team ever. They go on a run. They stink again. They're okay again. They sweep the Tigers, which everybody should sweep the Tigers. What's your 2 cents on what the White Sox are doing so far, Missy?
just like a big sigh.
Collective sigh.
Yeah, just like I had low expectations the more last year went, because I was like, it's over. Like it seems like there's nothing going to change about this. And then the off season, they were really hyping it up. But
Yeah.
I just didn't trust it. So I had low expectations. And then we split the series with Houston, and I was like, are we back? And then now kind of lost my trust again. So it's just kind of like expect the worst, hope for the best at this point. Yeah, like I just don't, I can't trust them to be fully back because they haven't given me a reason to believe that they're fully back. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of like one of those things where Sox fans sometimes can't face the truth, and I'm kind of one of those this year because I'm usually the one that's like, yeah, they stink. I'm okay with it. They stink.
Yeah.
But then they give us the hope, Missy, and then like
Yeah.
you have things like the amazing Jake Berger walk-off grand slam that happened yesterday, which by the way, I think we're all big fans of Jake Berger. That'll be talked about again later in the show, but the pitching is finally starting to get together, and then it's one or the other, right? It's always something that's wrong. It's the pitching, the hitting, the manager.
It's just it's always like they give us that little bit of hope. And like I said at the beginning of the season, the opening day, I was going crazy. I was like, this is it. Split the series with Houston, and then immediately all of April happened. Then May, we're back and forth, and I'm just like, yeah, it's a mix of trying to be realistic and then it's so hard to be hopeful when they are back and then they're not. It's just hard to really have expectations for them right now.
Yeah, I think the best way to move forward is to have no expectations. And then you can't have any problems. You can just enjoy a good time at the ballpark like you guys do on SouthSide Behavior.
Exactly.
Enjoy a few drinks, which I haven't cracked mine with you yet. I know you probably have one already. But I'll save the shandy for last, and I'm going to start myself with the Mike's Hard. But I don't always drink during the show, Missy. I try to make it special for your appearance. So
I appreciate it.
Cheers to appearance number 2 and a halfway decent second half of the season for the White Sox.
Hopefully.
Well, we'll take whatever we can get there. Yeah. But I know there's the one of the best stories in all of baseball this year, Missy, and I think everyone can agree is Liam Hendriks' triumphant victory over cancer and triumphant return to the mound. I mean, that's the stuff of storybook. I mean, there'll be a movie probably made about this someday.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that this guy goes from getting treatment in the offseason over the course of 5 months to beating cancer, being in remission, going through a quick simulated spring training, getting back on the mound. I mean, what does that say about this guy? And just how cool is it to root for this guy on our team? Yeah,
it even before the diagnosis and everything, it's like a consistent thing with Liam is he's always been easy to root for. He's one of those guys on this team, and it was like it easy to root for. I always mean that when they're doing bad, you're sad. You're not upset at them. You're just like, we know he can do better, and it's just very upsetting to see because he's such a great guy, and he gives us reason to like cheer for him. And so when the diagnosis came, it was like heartbreaking because it was like this guy is just it's such a staple in the morale that us fans even have, because it's like that is the guy we love. And then to see him come back and even say when he was going through treatment, like, I'm coming back in May, and everyone's like, wait till June, just, relax. Like, it was a lot of you. He's like, no, I'm coming back in May. It's just really inspiring and like just shows how much he loves the game. And that's like something I think is awesome to see on this team, that he cares about playing on this team so much that he beat all the odds, and I don't even know if he's had time to take it in, but like
probably not. Just straight into it.
He just keeps going. Like he hasn't stopped. So yeah, like it is just really inspiring, and it's very, very it's just such a feel-good story to see that he's back with his head in the game. And I think it makes us love him even more. Yeah, him and his wife always been just awesome advocates of being like on this team and like everything we stand for.
Yeah, big supporters of like the local, firefighters and police and everything in the area. And I mean, just look at this, like him ringing the bell with remission. I mean, the guy is just unbelievable in every facet of the word.
Unbelievable is the word. And yeah, it's just like speechless, really. It's just speechless from what he's been through and how he's handled it. So yeah.
So I think it's literally one of the best stories in all sports, and
yeah,
we all love Liam. It's one of the coolest things that you'll ever see in baseball. So just had to get that out there first.
Oh yeah.
And as we get through the talk about Liam, we'll welcome my other co-host Steven Zimmerman, who's here voice only, not on camera. He's moving, he's all over the place, but he's here with us. Mr. Zim, how you doing, buddy?
It's great. It's awesome to be on here. Yes, I'm in the process of moving, so not all my stuff is set up right now. It was a struggle just to get ready for tonight's show, but we're here. We're ready to roll. I hope my levels are good. I didn't really check them very well, but
you sound so perfect, Zim. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's so great to hear, Joe. And it doesn't sound at all like you're kissing my ass with that comment at all.
I'm really not. I really wasn't. Missy can vouch for me. We were just
it does sound good.
Good.
Good sound. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the most slapstick setup I've ever thrown together. I am like almost embarrassed to have it put together right now, but it's okay because I'm gonna do it right later this week.
It's all good, buddy. It's all good, man. I'm just happy we're just happy you're here, man. I went through the moving stuff. I get it.
That's it. I'll be back on camera next week. No, not next week. I'll be back on camera in 2 weeks, and you will all probably have no idea that I've even moved, and I'll still look like I'm in the Death Star.
Well, good. That's what I want. I always like Zim in the Death Star. But Zim, it's been a hot minute since we talked baseball. We let off the show talking about Liam and just kind of the White Sox roller coaster year. The thing we were going to get to next, and Missy addressed this at the tail end of her last question, her last answer. Are the White Sox back, Sim? I think the answer is, who knows, right?
No, the White Sox are absolutely back. The White Sox are back to being the most inconsistent team that we've seen in the last decade.
Okay, that's fair.
Just like they have been. So I mean, are they back or were they always here? Did we just overhype ourselves for a couple of seasons there? I don't know. It's been a great few days, that's for sure. It's been a lot of fun to watch, balls going off of umpires' faces, and
that was wild. That's a wild ending.
I think the last time
I've ever seen anything like that to end a game.
Yeah.
The closest ending I can remember was, oh man, this must have been about 15 years ago now, where there was a pitch thrown back to the pitcher from the catcher that got away from him with a runner on third, and the runner scored because the catcher made a bad throw back. But that's about as close as I can think of.
I can think of the terrible Armando Galarraga should have been a perfect game, but then they called him safe at first. You remember that, Zim?
Yeah, that was upsetting. Like
the anniversary was like a week ago. That's the only reason I brought it up.
In the moment, like I was a young, dumb Sox fan at that point in time. Like, so in the moment I was like, yeah, screw the Tigers. And then growing up, I'm
absolute same.
You don't take a perfect game from somebody. That's horrible.
Ripped it right out of his hands. Missy, that might be before your time, but Armando Galarraga pitched for the Detroit Tigers, and he had a perfect game that got literally pulled from him.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of keeping an eye on other teams' social medias because I'm not.
So you saw that post, didn't you?
So I saw their post, and I tip my cap to a lot of team social media accounts and managers. Detroit is one of them, a big one that I'm a fan of, and I'm like,
they got to be good at something, right?
I know. I'm like, if they can do it, we can do it. That's whole
right.
other story, but yeah, I saw that and I was like, this was good. That was good content.
For sure. But Zim's answer is perfect. They're back to being incredibly inconsistent. So Zim, that's technically they are back, just not in the way that we were hoping. But one thing that's still consistent, Zim, from the last time we did a show, we took off Memorial Day, is Jake Burger still rakes. He's just absolutely mashing the ball all over the field. Rightly so, is being campaigned to be an all-star, which, spoiler alert, we'll talk about later during the guaranteed take. But Zim, can this guy keep it up?
I mean, as long as he keeps playing a guaranteed rate field, I don't see why he can't keep it up. I mean, that's been the most incredible part of his season to me, is the fact that he's two completely different players at home and on the road. But at home, he's so good that you have to put him in the lineup. You know he's going to go yard for you twice a week. I mean, yeah, the guy's been lights out at guaranteed rate field. He's had a couple good games on the road, but generally speaking, yeah. But hey, they've been DFAing guys. They've been sending guys up and down all season.
Alberto's finally gone.
You know, they left Jake off of the opening day roster, and he's made him regret it ever since, because they haven't even thought about sending him back down as far as we can tell.
Oh, yeah.
And they shouldn't.
That's a huge, thought I have about Burger all the time, is I'm like, you guys must be I don't even know, feeling guilty that you even kept him down in Charlotte when you started the season. Like, how dare you? But no, it was like, that was probably a bad move, and you all know it now.
Yeah, I think they do. There's a comment in the chat, Missy, that I think you might appreciate.
Oh my God.
Your guy Romy. How about Romy?
Hey.
Believe it or not, right? I was looking at this the other day. I talked a couple weeks ago about how Jake Burger has been tearing the cover off the ball all season long. He hits the ball as hard as anybody in the game.
And believe it or not, he's had bad luck, which is crazy, I think.
Yeah.
His BABIP is not very good. Yeah. But Romy Gonzalez actually leads the White Sox in hard hit percentage.
That's it, baby.
The guy mashes just not out of the park like Burger does.
See, and you know what the difference is there? He's getting every day at bats. Can you imagine that?
Yep.
Wow. Look what happened to Jake when he got every day at bats. Or mostly every day at bats. I mean,
yeah.
Romy's a revelation, especially to Missy.
Oh, I've been there since day one in April, and the amount of payoff that has had has been fantastic for me. I don't know, the timing of Elvis getting injured or going on the IL and him having the opportunity to him coming off the IL, which I thought was like a reset for Romy. I'm like, this is his time. He got a little bit of time off. He's going to come back refreshed. And all of that coming true, and him being able to consistently play and now getting really hot. It's just so satisfying to see as a day one Romy supporter.
That's right.
Yeah. And when you play him consistently, obviously he's going to have he's not going to be, I don't know, you're not going to see him completely rake and everything, but
sure,
getting those at bats, and yeah, he.
I mean, I think you may have seen Elvis lose his job, at least temporarily. I mean, sure, you're going to see Elvis in as a utility player off the bench now that he's healthy again, but I think you're going to see a lot more Romy. I mean, he's getting it done. Elvis wasn't doing it before. I think he was hitting Zim? I think we said 200 before he went down or something.
Yeah. But that's the other thing. Elvis Andrus is 38 years old. You shouldn't be relying on him. It's so refreshing to see a young guy come up and actually be able to do what we want to see him do. The two of them, in fact, with him and Berger. Granted, Berger's not super young. It's still his first real stint in the league. But
exactly.
Two guys coming up and doing what they're supposed to do. It kind of sucks that Kolas couldn't be the third and he needed some more time down at AAA, but he's raking down at AAA now. So we might see him back soon.
Yeah. Well, that's so interesting to me, right? I think we talked about this before Memorial Day, but Missy, we were talking about how they had Kolas up to start the year. I even made a terribly bold prediction, which I'm regretting already, that he would be the rookie of the year in the American League. The White Sox clearly believed that for a while, and they really didn't give him much of a chance to fall flat. They just kind of, oh, you're gone. And that's fine. But they brought up everyone under the sun except for Oscar Kolas from the minors. So, how's that going to make Oscar feel? I mean, they even got, Clint Frazier that they have now. They picked up off waivers, and they're utilizing everybody. I mean, I don't know if that says more about Kolas or more about the fact that they were trying to accelerate him too quickly. But I'm excited for Kolas. I don't know how much we're going to see him this year.
Yeah, it was very promising at the beginning. I mean, we all saw it. We all thought he was very promising. And him being predicted to be rookie of the year wasn't even so far-fetched because he came out and we were like, he's doing really good for a rookie. And then it just something happened. And then, he's been down ever since. And instead they brought up Clint, which made sense. He was on a hot streak, but and he's been doing well getting pulled up. So I don't know how much more we'll see of him this season, but
I feel so bad. I think about the video when he FaceTimed his mom saying that he made the team.
Oh, I know.
And now all I think about that is every time I hear about anything about Oscar being in the minors, I'm like, eventually. He'll be up eventually, but that's all right.
Yeah. I think it'll be his time eventually, but maybe now they did just push him to come up too fast for the next rebuild. Rebuild.
Yeah. Or if you want to even call this a rebuild, but that's a whole nother thing. But we're going to dive into our first segment of the show. It's when we either praise or rip on the manager in a segment that we like to call Pedro's Pen. That's right. We're diving in, talking about Pedro's week. I guess we could talk about his last 2 weeks. It's so all over the board, but I guess I can't give him too much crap because his guys just aren't performing. Zim, am I being too lenient with Pedro? I said on Vinny's show the other day, and this might be a hot take for everyone on the show, and people might crucify me for this, but I said if the White Sox and the Cubs swapped managers, the White Sox would be in first place of the American League Central if the Sox had David Ross as manager. Do you disagree or agree with that, Zim? And am I insane?
I don't follow the Cubs closely enough to know. To be completely honest,
they have about the same record as the Sox. It's pretty much the same.
I will say,
with a much less talented roster.
Right, and that's just it. They're not nearly as good of a team. So for them to be competitive the way that they are, it's impressive. I don't know that David Ross would be able to coach anybody other than the Cubs the way that he is, though. So that's just me.
That's a good point. I give Pedro a little bit of benefit of the doubt. It's his first year. He has flashes of brilliance. I will say over the last week, I feel like he's finally starting to manage his starters a little bit better, with the exception of Lance Lynn. But I don't think there's anything you can do when your starter can't go 4 innings. I mean, and not even just 4 innings. He just gets absolutely destroyed every time he goes out.
And I've got a question for you that I'll bring up later in the show in Guaranteed Takes. So anybody who's tantalized by the topic of Lance Lynn, stick around and we'll talk to that point later. But yeah, I will say that as far as not even just managing the starters, but like we talked about, like I at least mentioned multiple weeks ago, he has Crochet now. He has Hendricks now. all of a sudden the bullpen management looks a lot better than it did 3 weeks ago, because you have 2 all-star caliber players back in there, right? I mean, Bummer's not getting used as much. Why? Because he's not needed as much.
He had a good week though.
He did have a good week, but there's also less pressure on him. He's not the only lefty being leaned on in the pen anymore. So that does a lot for a psyche of a player. Yeah, it all does ultimately come down to the execution of the players. And at the end of the day, if you're going to be mad about the way the Sox performed under Tony La Russa, you should still be mad about the way that they're performing under Pedro Grifol, because the performance still just isn't there.
So I just had to real quick pull up the stats, just to your point about how good this bullpen has been. The last 7 days, guys, Santos, Lopez, Middleton, Bummer, Graveman, all have not given up a single run over, let's see, 2 1/3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, basically 13 innings of scoreless ball.
But look at the usage of those guys now, right? That's the impressive part, is that they're all getting regular usage rather than one guy being leaned on. We're not seeing Keenan Middleton being put out there for 5 innings a week anymore. We're not seeing Bummer being brought out for 4.5, 5 innings, 6 innings sometimes in a week. Everybody's healthy, everybody's prepared and ready to go, so you can spread them out. And that's what's been
Joe
really
Kelly.
cool.
Sorry, I forgot to mention Joe Kelly.
Yeah, Joe. Hey, that was my pick to click, man. Don't forget Joe Kelly.
Well, he had one good week and one bad week, but that's beside the point.
Oh yeah. That first week was really bad, but
Yes,
I mean that's always been Joe Kelly. He has a bad week and then he's great for a month. But at any rate, I do give Pedro a lot of credit for spreading out the usage of these guys, though, for utilizing the pen the way that he's got it, because that is something that we hadn't seen. And I'm not even just going to say the last 2 years, but the last 10 years. It's like a guy gets healthy again. It's like, all right, Liam Hendricks is back on the team. We're going to throw him every day for an inning and a third. And it's like, that's how you get these guys in trouble again.
Yeah, exactly. But it's encouraging to see. I just wanted to pull up the stats because the bullpen management has been great. The starter management has been better as well. I mean, you can see here, Cease had a good start. Kopech went, 11 1/3 over 2 starts. He looked great. 19 strikeouts is eye-opening, insane. He looks good again. Giolito, okay. Lance Lynn, you can only work so much with Lance Lynn, but Mike Clevenger had a good start. It's 5 scoreless. So, I give Pedro credit for managing the pitching a lot better. So, I don't know. That's just my hot take. Not a hot take, but Missy, just curious with you if there's any immediate takeaways of stuff that you have for feedback for Pedro, whether it's positive, negative, or in between. Anything you've seen that you like or don't like?
Yeah. As far as pitching goes, I feel like he's gotten a lot better. I feel like him managing the starters has been a little rough so far, and questioning, leaving them in when they're getting smoked, and you're like, it kind of was questionable. I feel like he's definitely gotten better now that the bullpen is completely full and everyone's back. I feel like he's doing a lot better with that. As far as thinking about how he's been managing everyone today, my parents, my dad knows a lot about baseball, but my mom has been getting better. She's trying to learn a lot more now that she sees everything I do. And she was watching the game yesterday, and she was like, man, the last inning, there were people that were in it was a completely different lineup. And I was like, yeah, he's utilizing everyone on the bench, because when it gets to that point where he knows someone is just doesn't have it that day, he's throwing someone else in and just being like, let's see if it works. And honestly, you can question some of those decisions, but honestly, I think that's, I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. I kind of like that about Pedro, that he's no one on this bench is safe. If I need you, I need you. So I think that's one thing I think is cool about Pedro. I would rip on him about the pitching, but yeah, like you guys said, he's gotten a lot better with managing it. So I think that's all I kind of got on Pedro right now. But yeah,
Yeah, no, I hear you.
It's kind of indifferent right now.
Well, what I like is he's learning from all his mistakes he's made so far.
Yeah.
So I think that's my number one thing that I'm like, okay. But I still stand by my statement that I think if David Ross was the manager of the White Sox, they would be much better off. And the Cubs would probably be better suited with a guy like Pedro. But that's beside the point. We had a Cub fan, my friend Adam Shum in the chat. So tell me your thoughts on that, Adam. If the Sox had Ross as their manager, would they be better? Just curious your thoughts. But anyway, we'll keep things rolling here. We'll get Adam's response in a little bit. But we're going to dive into there's a lot of good this week, but there was quite a bit of bad. And we're going to talk about it in this week's Adam Dud of the Week.
You suck! You suck! Suck!
Stupid. Lousy. No excuse.
What a dud. What a total dud.
Yeah, there were a few dud performances on the team this week. You can kind of pick your poison because there's some pretty bad stat lines. Shocker to the world, I have them queued up ready for when they get brought up, but I'll let our guests lead things off. Missy, is there anyone this week that you think really shit the bed or just had a rough time at the plate or behind the mound?
Yeah, like when you said that, I kind of was like, I feel like I have like all my memory gets erased within the week, but like, I don't know. I feel like if I'm going off of someone I would have loved to see like pop off this week, not necessarily was like the worst. I wish Luis Robert would kind of do defensively, doing great, but offensively, I wish he would kind of pick it up. Yeah, like I wouldn't say he's completely just he's sucking right now, but I just kind of
he didn't have a single RBI this week.
Yeah,
Luis is not great. He scored 4 runs.
I always say he doesn't completely suck because I'm like he's got to be in center field though. Like we have to have him defensively.
But one thing I will say with this being a good pick for you, Missy, is that why don't we just have a quick guess between the two of you and Zim? How many times did Luis Robert strike out this week?
Oh God.
Let's just take a guess. Zim, I'll let you guess first.
16.
Well, that's really high, but Missy?
12.
You're close. He struck out 11 times this week in 24 at bats.
Yeah. And I'm like, does that really justify the defense? You know, that, it's tough. And I guess I would say he's a dud after knowing all that. Like, I wish and I pray that he's either the best you've ever seen or just like looks like he has no idea what he's doing.
Well, that's what's most infuriating, right? It's because he could be an MVP.
Oh yeah.
And then he has weeks where he looks like he doesn't belong in the majors.
Exactly. And that's what I felt like this week. I was like, it's not a Luis Robert week. The focus has shifted away from that. But I mean, defensively, like I said, like you trust him more in center field than kind of anyone else. But does that justify his at-bats?
Yeah.
Kind of rough,
and I know before we went on air, you were talking a little bit about Lance Lynn. We love Lance.
Yeah.
We don't love what he's doing on the mound. So he's definitely a candidate for the dud of the week with 4 innings pitched, 8 hits, 8 earned runs, 3 home runs, 2 walks, only 4 strikeouts. I mean, Lance has been a shell of himself and makes you start wondering, like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In my opinion, my favorite chronically online take, if I may say that, on like Twitter, is that he's a Dallas Keuchel. And I always
no.
say, I feel like it has been said before, but the difference is that Lance owns it, and Lance is like, I know I suck, and I don't like it either. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little bit different where I wouldn't say he's cooked because he's not like, oh, I'm doing my best, and like he knows he's not doing well and he wants to fix it. So it's just hard to see, and I think it's hard for him to see as well. So
It is. And Zim, what do you make out of the struggles of Lance Lynn? Is this a lot of people have speculated that it's got something to do with the pitch clock. I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
I wouldn't be surprised if that had something to do with it, but this late in the year, like you would think somebody's probably adjusted to that. You know, it seems like Clevenger kind of went way off with it. You know, he took off with it at first and then he kind of slowed down and now he's back and like adjusted.
Yeah.
I've noticed it with a lot of guys, like some guys like Peasy in the chat mentions Lynn looks gassed most of the time. And like that genuinely could be it. But at the same time, he's kind of bad right from the first inning in a lot of these situations. So
that's the problem with me. Is like
yeah.
I agree that he looks gassed. I agree that the pitch clock has something to do with it. Just his mental aspect of the game, I feel like, is affected by the pitch clock. Right. And it's almost like it gets in his head from the second he gets on the mound.
Well, I was gonna say I actually watched Foul Territory with AJ.
With AJ.
So I watched the interview with Lance. They interviewed him, and they asked him that. They were like, "Is it something to do with the pitch clock?" And apparently, to him, he said no. He said, "I don't even pay attention to the pitch clock." He said it's just like something else. It's in his head. So like, I don't think so. But but he claims it's not the pitch clock, but maybe it subconsciously is to him, and he's just like, you know, he doesn't want to know that that's it. But apparently to him, it it's not the pitch clock, but I don't know.
Yeah, I saw the interview. It's like, ugh.
Because
everyone loves Lance. It's just like, man, I wish he would put it back together.
Yeah, exactly. No one likes to see this because he's another person that you're like, I just love him. I love who he is. And yeah, it's another one that we're like, wish this would fall together, piece together.
For sure. Well, there's Lance. He's honorable mention for the Adam Dud of the week.
Yeah.
Zim, who is your Adam Dud of the week? Someone that just was horrible in all assets of the game.
Yeah, that's tough for me. I really wanted to go with Lance Lynn, honestly, because he's been embarrassingly bad. But instead, I'll give it to the guy who couldn't even manage to get a hit this week in Gavin Sheets. He at least managed an RBI, which is pretty solid. But even I got a hit this week, and I only got 4 at-bats. So,
yeah, I mean, Gavin just horrendous week. He still drew a handful of walks. But look at this. He struck out 5 times in 11 at-bats. So look at that. Almost half the time he's striking out. So he's just not seeing the ball this week. So
he's taking the Luis Robert approach right now.
Yes, he is. Luis struck out. Yeah, he's still striking out in the distance, and they're not even playing today. Great pick.
Is it just me, or does Sheets kind of look like he's got the Javi Baez approach right now? Swing hard and hope you run into one.
Yeah, I mean, he'll snap out of it eventually, but yeah. That's unfortunate because he's getting cool shortly before the trade deadline. So hopefully he heats up a little bit because he could be something. A team could use his services, but it'll probably end up being us. But I'm going to go into my Adam Dud of the week, and I'm going to ride with El Desastre Personnel himself, Yohan Moncada, 1 for 17, batting 59 for the week, 0 ribbies. I think that's I don't know what that is. That's 3 walks. Sorry, he walked 3 times, scored 4 runs, and he had 8 strikeouts. So this is another guy that's just swinging and missing a lot. And it killed this lineup because, well, first off, Pedro can't decide where to put him. Secondly, Yoan's just doesn't have it right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Berger at third base a couple of days and let Moncada kind of work out of this funk with a couple of days off. But Yo-Yo gets my Adam Dud of the week. Honorable mention to Garrett Crochet. He had a rough inning. He pitched 1 inning this week. Gave up 3 hits, a homer, 2 earned runs. He'll get back. He's just kind of still working his way back. But he's here. He's just, inconsistent, just like the rest of this team. But there's the opposite side of things, which are guys that just rip the ball to shreds with the bat and, striking guys out left and right. And that's what we like to call this week's Put It on the Board Player of the Week. Yes, that's right. A lot of guys teared the ball to pieces this week. I have a feeling I know who Missy's going to pick, but we'll let her lead off anyway.
Yeah, I just got to keep going with the theme. It's really taken a mind of its own. I'm going to go with Romy Gonzalez.
What? No,
I've been waiting for this moment for 2 months to finally bring up that he deserves something like this. And the waiting and believing and hoping might play into a factor of me picking him. But I think since coming back from the IL, which I believe reset him completely, he's been raking. And I wouldn't say he's all-star caliber, very confident every time he comes up. But when he comes up to bat, you at least have some a little bit of confidence that he might, get an RBI or get on base. Or he's actually, I think this twice now, first pitch homer. And then on the other side of it, defensively, he's just been great. I think it's very underrated whenever I see him make a play. Obviously, I'm mentally noting it and being like, that's my guy. But he is really consistent on defense. So,
except for that one dropped ball in the outfield of that rain game, but we'll forget about that one.
That was before the IL. That was before the reset.
That's right.
I don't count that.
I was in the outfield watching it, so I remember it very clearly.
Oh, I was there.
Oh no!
Yeah,
shit.
it was
All
real
right.
sad.
They still won that game.
The sign, the DME
and then
sign.
they came roaring back. That's right.
Yeah, so he went from that April to coming back in May, and even if it's not he's been the best, I think he deserves a little bit of a shout out. Because
he does deserve a shout out.
If anything, I'm his number one fan, I guess now. So I'll be there. I'll be there giving him his shout out. So yeah, I'll pick Romy this week.
I like it. When, like I said, he didn't have a terrible week. Like I said, he batted .235, but he still had 3 RBI. He still scored 4 runs. He did strike out 6 times, but he also stole 2 bags, and you don't see that too much on this White Sox team. So.
He is so fast.
He's fast.
Just want to put it out there. He's very fast. It's kind of almost a Jake Berger moment where we all were like, oh my God, Jake Berger's really fast. But yeah, Romy, we all were like, no one paid attention to it because he wasn't doing really well in April. So we didn't really, didn't really pay attention. But now that he is getting on base and he is getting hits and he is able to steal, everyone's recognizing he's fast.
Well, it's a good pick. Then, he's kind of rebounding in a big way. He's a big part of the reason the Sox have been playing better as of late.
Yeah.
Mr. Zim, who is your put it on the board player of the week?
It's the walk-off home run man, Jake Berger himself.
Yeah, he rakes, man.
That's all there is
to
to
the show.
I don't have much more to say. He has had such a good week that he's reinvigorated my collection. I am literally like right now, I have a second tab up looking for new Jake Berger cards to add to my collection because the guy has been that good that I'm convinced that in 10 years, we're all going to go, man, it's a shame he was injured for like the first 5 years of his career because he'd be a 500 home run guy if he wasn't, you know?
That's right. Yeah, you're right, Zim. And for those of you who don't know, Zim collects baseball cards in general, but how many signed Jake Berger cards do you have, Zim, now?
Jake Berger specifically right now, I have...
It's a lot.
6 or 7 signed cards.
See?
Including a 1-of-1 card from when he was in the minor leagues, including multiple on-card rookie cards, and including one that's my favorite. It has a game-used button from his jersey.
Nice.
Yeah.
See?
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, super cool. I wish I had the camera ready to go, but Joe, maybe I can send you a picture and you could put it up or something. But
there you go.
At any rate, it's really cool the stuff they do with sports cards nowadays. You know, they take bits of the helmets, the bats, the buttons, the ball caps, the gloves, everything, put it in the cards. I'm trying to get my hands on something that has a bit of baseball right now. I would love to get something with bat, but I don't know if he's done any of those yet because usually they reserve those for the top tier guys. So, but at any rate,
soon enough,
Jake Berger has entirely reinvigorated my collection, and I would like to see if I could find some really unique, interesting things of his now.
There you go, man. Yeah, Jake rakes. Spoiler alert, or should I say teaser alert, Jake will be back on the program at some point this summer. So tune in for that when it happens. He said he's excited to come back on, so can't wait for that. Zim, while I have you talking players of the week, why don't you pick a pitcher as well?
I was giving props to the bullpen. We were giving props to the bullpen earlier. So let's give it to Reynaldo Lopez, 4 innings pitched, 1 hit, 2 base on balls, no earned runs, and 4 strikeouts. His consistency is back, for an inconsistent team.
He's not a closer.
That's just it. He wanted it. He got his shot. I don't think anybody was stopping Liam from taking it back, but
no,
he certainly didn't make it hard to take him out of the spot. That's for sure. So it was great to have somebody willing to step up and wanting to step up in that situation. Absolutely. But he does way better in this role that he's in, that long relief, that almost setup sort of role that he's in.
Yeah, it's not as much pressure, but sometimes there is. But yeah, I hear you. Love seeing that from Reynaldo. I'm going to go for my put on the board player of the week. I'm going to go with Andrew Vaughn. I love what I've seen out of him. He's putting the bat on the ball. He's making good contact. He's getting on base. Look at him. He hit 421 this week. Granted, he only had 2 runs and 4 RBI, but 4 RBI is good for second on the team. 4 walks is what I like to see. I love when Andrew sees the ball well, and I think that's telling you something about what he's doing right now with that batting average and with the walks. And he only struck out 1 time. That's what I love to see. I believe that's the lowest strikeout total on the team this week. I'm confirming that. Hanser Alberto didn't strike out this week, but he only got 2 at-bats, and he got cut. So that doesn't count. So Andrew seeing the ball well. I love what I'm seeing out of him. Let's keep it up heading into this week. Got a rough schedule, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And, of course, I got to give it to, on the pitching side, I got to give it to Michael Kopech. Love what I've seen from Moist Michael, as we like to call him on the show. 11 1/3, 6 earned runs over those 2 starts, 8 hits, the 3 home runs you don't like to see. But if you think about it that way, the majority of his runs he gives up are coming from those home runs, which if you get rid of those couple mistake balls, he's just lights out. Only 3 walks over those 2 starts, 19 strikeouts. Michael is a man on fire right now. I love what I'm seeing from him. I expect him to keep it up because I was at the game where he had the perfect game going into, I believe it was the 7th inning. And he ended up giving up 1 hit in that game. He went 8 strong. Michael Kopech became a different pitcher that day. I don't know how to describe it, but sitting there in the stands and seeing him, his body language, his focus, something in Michael Kopech's brain has just kind of gone off, and he's turning it on now. So I'm looking forward to watching him the rest of the season, and he gets my put it on the board player of the week nomination here because let's face it, Moist Michael is on fire. So love to see that. But let's keep the show rolling along. We're going to dive into the upcoming schedule briefly in a segment, if I could find the video, that we like to call White Sox Weekly. Yeah, this is where it gets hairy, guys. It's gonna get a little rough here with this schedule coming up because let's face it, we get to go against the creme de la creme over the next few weeks. And I'm going to pull it up so we can take a nice long look at it. We get to go into New York City for a 3-game set against arguably the red-hot New York Yankees. Currently, it looks like we got Giolito going in that series. You got Lynn and Clevenger. Arguably, for me, the 3 guys you don't want to see in that series. But again, Clevenger's been better as of late. I don't even want to know what's going to happen with Lynn on Wednesday. That's a whole – I don't think I'll watch that game. Maybe I'll listen to it and try to cover my eyes. And then we have to go back home and play Miami. Cease against Perez, which should be a good matchup. Then you got our buddy Kopech going against Cy Young Award winner Sandy Alcantara. Guy's just an absolute beast. Then you got Giolito against Garrett. So Gio's got 2 starts this week. You got to hope he can make the best out of them. And then sadly, going into the early parts of the following week, we have to take on the Dodgers and the Seattle Mariners. I mean, the schedule doesn't get any easier from here, guys. So Missy, I'm curious your thoughts on this schedule and best possible scenario.
This is where we're gonna I think this is going to be the okay, are we legit back or are we the same inconsistent team? Because this is a tough schedule. And if we're serious about being back, even though it was just the Tigers, if we're very serious and a competitive team, this is where you prove it. Because I feel like this is the last stretch of games where we can prove either we have it and we can make a comeback and be hopeful, or if this is just who we are now. We're an inconsistent team. We'll get a few wins maybe out of all this. It's a tough schedule. And so if they want to prove that they've got it and that they're quote unquote back or they're, the team they should have been, this is it. This is the time. Other than that, we're running out of time for them to prove that they can make a historic comeback and that they're a good team. So I feel like it's second week of June. This is it. This is your only chance. Yeah. Otherwise, we all know what's going to happen the rest of the season.
We know what's going to happen, and our buddy Rick Hahn a couple days ago couldn't decide if they're sellers yet.
Yeah.
If Rick doesn't know what he's doing after the next 9 games, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
But shout out to Sidney Brown in the chat. He said he's gonna have his eyes covered too on Wednesday, and it's nice meeting you, Missy, yesterday. So gotta love Sid. Gotta check out Sid's show on Sports Zone Chicago. Been on there a couple times as a guest. Great stuff. So Sid, I appreciate you tuning in. PZ says these are the teams Sox have to beat if they want to contend. That's absolutely true. I say my magic number, and Zim, you can tell me yours after this, but if they can win 5 out of the next 9 in this series, I will be a believer.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
I think
like
the
that
number's
number.
5.
I like that number.
Because you figure that's, that's taking, probably the series against Miami and taking the series against the Dodgers, and that's, probably getting swept by the Yankees. But I don't know. I could see us winning that Clevenger game, but I don't know. Maybe I'll be a believer after the next few days. But the Sox tend to have a way of making that hope die really quickly. So hopefully that is not the case. But just had to dive into that schedule, not to be a doom and gloom kind of guy, but it's definitely a tough stretch. I think all the White Sox fans out there know that's the case. But
I'm sorry, I missed it. Is that Yankees series on the road or at home?
it is on the road starting tomorrow.
I do actually think that helps them in a weird way. That ballpark is very hitter friendly.
Mhm.
And if the White Sox are going to win, particularly the Lance Lynn start, they're going to have to do it with offense. So that's a ballpark where you have that opportunity if you can seize it.
Well, the Yankees, their one struggle, you could argue, is their starting pitching. So,
right, if you get on them early, you got a real chance. Anderson and Benintendi still have no home runs at the top of the lineup this season, but this kind of feels like a series where they could run into a couple. So,
yeah, if there's ever a place that's going to happen, I think Yankee Stadium would be that place.
That's it. Benintendi has that pull power for a lefty bat, and Anderson always hits those oppo shots. So that left field porch looks real good out there. Right field porch, excuse me. The dollhouse porch.
Yeah, I think porch is being very friendly, calling it that. I think we all know it's really just a basket. So it's as bad as the baskets at Wrigley.
Well, I mean, the wall is where a normal right fielder would play. So,
right. Fair. But the next thing we're going to hop into is our picks for the upcoming week. And we're going to dive into that in what we call, and a lot of people call, the picks to click. So I won again. Imagine that. I had Jake Berger for the second time in a row, and he just absolutely went off. So I've decided I'm not going to take him again this week. But regardless, we let our guest go first with their pick. I could probably figure out what Missy's going to take, but I'll extend the question to you anyway. So, Missy, who are you taking for your pick to click heading into this week?
Listen, I gotta go on theme. I've been doing really good lately. So I am gonna keep playing into this, and I'm gonna say Romy.
All right.
I feel like he Andrews was injured. I felt like he thought like this is the time to step it up, prove myself, and I think now that he's back, I think it's even more so that he wants that starting spot. So and also I was a day one supporter. I gotta keep it going. I'm too deep into this to stop now. And yeah, so I'm a believer. I think this might not be a hot streak. I think he just is figuring out how to consistently keep this happening. So I'm gonna say this week, Romy. That is if they decide to play him a little bit more than Elvis. But yeah, it's still like up in the air how they're gonna work that out. But
so we'll stick with the alliteration, but this week Missy's riding with Romy.
yeah, I gotta at this point.
That's right, baby. So I have to pick the choice now because I can't go. I'm not going to go with Berger again because I took him twice in a row, and I feel like that's unfair. He could, and probably if I picked him a third time, he might go 0 for 11 like Gavin did this week. So I'm just riding the trends. So I think I'm going to go with a guy who had a great week. He's seeing the ball well. You can probably guess who I'm going to take. I'm going to go with Andrew Vaughn this week as my pick to click. I feel like he's going to turn that corner. and just turn into an absolute RBI machine. Look for Andy to have a big, big week. I can hope, I can pray. You never know. Zim, what are you doing for pick to click, buddy?
Someone, that's for sure.
Oh, whoa, no way.
Oh.
You know,
Now you're speaking my language.
I don't want to talk myself into another one of my silly picks because I seem to do that a lot lately.
You do. That's true.
You know, picking Joe Kelly, and who did I pick a few weeks ago that was just absurd? And it was like, why would I ever pick him? I picked
Adam Hazley.
Yeah, I picked Adam Hazley. Like that was ever gonna work out for me. Like, I don't know. Though.
You gonna pick Alberto this week or what?
No,
he's not even on the team. He's cut. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm really racking my brain over this one because I do want to make something a little different, but at the same time, like, just do the smart thing. I'll do this. I'm gonna take Tim Anderson.
Okay, that's not a terrible pick.
Only if he hits a home run. If he doesn't hit a home run, I'm disqualified from this week.
Right.
Hey, it's against the Yankees this week, and
that's exactly it.
He's got a vendetta against them, as he should. I'm rooting for that.
I feel like that's a safe little parlay to make right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna lock that in. Tim Anderson, but it doesn't count if he doesn't hit a home run.
It counts either way. Sorry to bring it to
I don't care if he goes 21 for 21 with 19 RBIs and 18 stolen bases and has the most insane week Major League Baseball's ever seen.
He has three straight games with the cycle.
Yeah.
Watch that happen now, and it'd be like crazy. But no, I like the pick. I like TA to bounce back. He had a good week this week too. So
he did. He's coming back strong and getting hot, and hopefully going to start being the spark that he always is for this team.
Yeah,
that's right. And as we were talking here, I text our buddy Vinny because he's on vacation, and I'm like, said pick the click ? And he responded back with one emoji.
Okay, he's got Burger then.
Fair.
Someone had to pick him, so
that's a value pick for sure at 4.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm in this to win it, so I can't take him 3 weeks in a row because I feel like I would just be jinxing Jake. But I hope he does. I hope he wins it for Vin because the updated standings are it's getting a little rough for you guys, and I don't know what's going on. I've never won anything in my life, but I am up in the standings. I do have 4 pick to click wins so far this season.
You are a husband and a father, and you've never won anything in your life.
Correction. No. Don't mistake it that way. I hit the jackpot in that facet of life. I'm not complaining about that. I'm talking in regards to White Sox baseball and pick to click, because as you know, I jinxed the White Sox last year with the Josh Naylor game. I literally said on air that the Sox won, and we'll see you guys tomorrow after a huge victory. And then Josh Naylor hit that walk-off home run. It's pure comedy. It's pure comedy. I actually did an edit, Missy, which I'll see if I can find it and send it to you later, of that bit. And as soon as I said that, I put the Curb Your Enthusiasm music right afterwards.
Oh, no. I feel like I actually did see that.
It's the best edit he's ever made.
Oh my God. Everything that came out about that game, I was like, it just.
Yeah, it's rather unfortunate. And then almost every game I went to last season, they lost. So I got coined as the curse of the Bambino. Because every game I went to, they lost. But this year, I'm happy to report I'm 2-0 when I go to games. So
Okay.
The curse is broken. But in that respect, I haven't won anything. And the game of life and my wife and my beautiful daughter, I've struck gold. So I want to make that very clear. But I'm up with 4 wins in pick to click. Our guests on the show have won twice. I believe Nick Cousin won, and I want to say, I don't know who the other guest was that won. I'd have to go back and look. But anyway, we tally all the guests
It's
together.
on the tip of my tongue. It really is. Like, I can think of who it was, and I just can't.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find it. I'm sure it'll come to mind. It'll be as soon as I get off air, I'll remember. But anyway, the guests have 2 victories. Zim has 1 and Vinny has 1, so they're due. So we'll see what happens next week. But to recap for everybody, Missy is going with Romy Gonzalez to the shock of absolutely no one. I'm going to go with Andrew Vaughn, Zim with Tim Anderson, and Vinny's going to ride the Jake Burger train. Make sure that grill stays nice and hot for that cheeseburger.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll kind of go from there. And that's a fantastic segue into our last segment of the show, which is kind of our hot topic debate, if you will. And that's what we like to call this week's Guaranteed Take. Yeah, so it's a bit of a hot topic. I'm getting, I've been in a Twitter battle over the last 24 hours with people after a tweet I put out saying that Jake Burger is an all-star. He deserves to be on the all-star team. He leads all American League DH candidates with a 923 OPS, and he's second in home runs only to Shohei Ohtani, who's nominated at the DH role with 15 homers. But we all know he's going to make the all-star game as a pitcher. So my hot take, Jake Burger's an all-star. I don't care what anybody says to me. You put his stat line out there. He is an all-star. I don't care. Missy, I know you're probably aligned with me, but what are your thoughts on Jake Burger as a whole this year and just his story?
Yeah, I love that you guys are like really like friends with the Burgers, because it's like,
yeah,
like it's just him and Ashton are just like the greatest, the most down to earth people, and
absolutely.
I love it. And I love, I think, a quote, kind of paraphrasing, that came out today-ish about how he's like, I love being on the ballot, but I want to earn it. And it's like can this guy get any more like just real and like just very humble? I love it. Like I was talking to you before, but last year, what I do in SouthSide Behavior is I try to expose people to the White Sox in ways they haven't seen. So like all that's known about the White Sox fans are, oh, we live in, stereotypes. Like, oh, we live in a bad neighborhood and like we don't go to games. And I like that my TikTok gets a lot of attention because people find out stuff about the Sox. Last year it was Dylan Cease. I made a big push to be like, hey, this guy should be nationally recognized. He's great. Also, Tim Anderson getting into the All-Star game. Like, this guy's great. He should be there. This year, it is Burger, 100%. I think he should absolutely be an All-Star. And that's what I'm going to kind of push on SouthSide Behavior now. Because, yeah, I think he deserves it. Yeah, and you're completely correct.
Yeah, he deserves it. And of course, I have the footage of us bringing the Burgers on our show earlier this offseason. And I think you said it perfectly, Missy, and that the Burgers are just, it's weird looking at myself as I'm talking. They're just the absolute best people. I mean, just look how happy they just were to be on our show, just our little podcast, as happy as can be. They were much newer parents at this point in time. I believe we talked to them. I want to say this was February, Zim. Does that sound right? I think so.
Yes, it was about 10 days before spring training started.
Yeah, so we were getting Jake before spring training. He talked about everything, the baby, becoming a dad, everything he changed.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, he had 2 Achilles tears in different legs, fought his way all the way back, trained really hard, and he's just absolutely mashing. Statistically, Zim, I'll go to you statistic-wise. A 923 OPS is unfreaking believable. Right? You're on mute.
Yeah, I mean, with a home run hitter, right? you want your OPS. I mean, 1,000 is like the baseline of a great player, right? When you
Sure.
think guys like Shohei or like Frank Thomas,
He has
or
a higher OPS than Shohei right now.
he does have a higher OPS than Shohei right now, and that right there should say a lot about his ability. But I'm talking when you think about some of the best hitters in the game, right? You look at like Hank Aaron, you look at like Barry Bonds, you look at like Craig Biggio, you look at Frank Thomas was another one. But you look at some of these guys that are, the 500 home run, 3,000 hit kind of guys, 1,000 is right about where they hover. So for him to be there right now is great. His WAR is at 0.9 right now. All right. 0.9 for a guy who plays every 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
That's massive. He's already earned this team an entire win. They would be one game worse without Jake Berger on the roster. And there's not a lot of guys who play, at his infrequency, I guess is the best way to put it, that make that kind of an impact. He's only played in 43 games this year. And we're at what? Almost 60.
Yeah. And I mean, this is a guy that's got 12 home runs.
Yep. 12 home runs, almost 30 RBIs, 29. Only 8 walks. That's kind of like he's getting his cuts in. That's the thing that's cool to me. His strikeout rate is still a little high, but that's almost to be expected from a guy who's, 27 years old, making his first real appearance in the show. What really sucks, in my opinion, for him is last year he just barely got too many at bats, so he's no longer considered a rookie.
Right.
He came into the season at like just shy of 200 at bats, and in order to qualify as a rookie, you have to have less than 180. So he literally by like 3 or 4 games had too many at bats to be considered a rookie this season, and that really sucks because he could be a very serious rookie of the year candidate if not for those 3 or 4 games. But regardless of all of that, a 606 slugging percentage tells you just how often, not only that he's hitting the ball, but how often he's getting to second base when he hits the ball, right? He's got a 265 average and a 606 slugging percentage, which means that more than half the time, if he hits the ball, he's standing on second base.
Well, he's just crushing it, man. He's making hard contact. I mean, and I'm going to make this perfectly clear. We're not just lobbying for Jake because he's a friend of the show and he's a good person. Statistically, this guy deserves to be nominated for the All-Star game. He deserves to be in the same conversation as some of those other DH candidates. Giancarlo Stanton.
That's it.
What's that?
All the Moneyball stats are what you want to see from him too. If we're strictly looking at stat lines, you look at this guy and he's a $6 million a year player. He's the guy you should have given the damn money to, not Hanser Alberto, not Larry Garcia. Jake Berger's the guy who should have been on this roster the last 3 years.
Yep, and I'm just pulling up the DH ballot. Of course, I zoomed in too far. Let me back out. Sorry. Trying to blow it up for our listeners so that we can see it. So that's outfield. Let me go back to DH just so we can see all the candidates in the field. Okay, so you have Josh Bell.
Who's having a rough season. He's got the RBIs, but that's kind of it.
Yeah. Brandon Belt, same thing. His OPS is higher, though. Jake Berger, 923 OPS, 29 ribbies, 265, 12 homers. Of course, Byron Buxton is going to be competing with him because of the name, but his statistics just aren't there. His RBIs are there, his homers are there, but his batting average is not. Miguel Cabrera is just a feel-good name to have on this list. He's not a realistic person to be there. Robbie Grossman, he's been fantastic for the Rangers. Don't get me wrong. 31 ribbies is nothing to shake a stick at. But he's, it's the RBIs that would get him there, if anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But RBIs aren't what gets you to the All-Star game. Like as much of a team stat as they are, as much of a good stat to have as they are, RBIs don't get you to the All-Star game. Home runs and batting average too.
Yeah.
And I think everyone that's saying Jake isn't an All-Star is not looking at the nominees. I mean, Gunnar Henderson, again, only hitting 200, not an All-Star. Corey Julks.
Every one of these guys, and Jake Berger's numbers are at or better than every single one of them, with the exception of Shohei Ohtani. And Shohei's a freak of nature, so that's not really fair.
And he's making the team as a pitcher anyway. So
yeah. Love the old friend alert, AJ Pollock.
Yeah, look at that batting average. That's about where it was last year.
Look at him. Oh man.
I mean, they really just put a DH from every single team. Yeah. I mean, you're really looking at, for competition, Robbie Grossman because of those RBI. Mm-hmm. Of course, Shohei, but I don't consider it competition here because this is a guy that's going to make the team regardless, right? And then Giancarlo Stanton, just because he's on the Yankees, he's got a high OPS.
Yeah, Jake's
is higher. Out in Oakland is having a really quietly good season. Nobody knows because he's on the A's, maybe the only team less popular than the White Sox, but Brent Rooker is having a really good season.
Yeah, and Justin Turner has been pretty decent for the Red Sox as well. So again, lots of good options here. Just wanted to pull up the ballot just to show people.
Yeah. But it's it's the name. It's like name recognition. You'd think Stan would be like a clear shot because it's Stanton. Everyone knows him. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm very. I like what I do for SouthSide Behavior because it gets. I don't think a lot of people know that I checked today to remember. 14.4 thousand followers now. And a lot of them are not even Sox fans. It's a place for Sox fans to be this is our place. But I have a lot of people not from the fan base that follow us because they just like what I put out. And I'm like, this is a huge opportunity to expose them to players and things.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I'm like, people need to know more about Berger because no one's covering it. And it's like he deserves it. So
the impressive part with it too is those number of game played. Right?
Right.
He's at 43 games played. Rooker has played more games. Shohei Ohtani has played a lot more games. Giancarlo Stanton has played a lot more games. I mean,
and I know people will say that's why his OPS is higher because he hasn't played as many games, but he's having an effect when he's on the field.
Sure, his OPS might not be, or might be a little inflated because of it, but you can't discount the RBIs, the home runs, the doubles.
And people forget, and let's say Jake doesn't make the team. I hope it's not the case, but let's say it happens. He can still do the home run derby. They can still call someone that didn't make the All-Star team to be in the derby. Mm-hmm. I would love it.
Yeah.
Golly, I just mathed it out. Sorry. Jake Berger has 35 hits on the season, which is not a ton, but all things considered, 35 hits in 43 games is pretty good.
Yeah, it's really good.
20 of those have gone for extra bases.
Dude's got wheels for a big man. For a guy that tore his two Achilles.
He's speedy. You look at him and you can see why he tore those Achilles. Men his size aren't supposed to move that fast.
Yeah. And I love a little bit ago that they said that Pedro gave him the green light to steal bases. I was like, that is all I want. If I see Berger steal base, oh baby, game over. This is great. And he did.
I mean, even I would probably get a little aroused if Jake Berger stole a base. I mean,
Oh yeah.
who's gonna lie, right?
He
Yeah.
is credited with 1 stolen base so far this season.
Yes, I know, but I
you
mean,
couldn't tell me when it happened, but
like a proper like beat the throw stolen base. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
not what
yeah.
happened.
It's exciting, especially like not even size or anything like that. It's just for what he's been through. Amazing. Like
Yeah.
you can't. It's someone I can't even remember who said this, but he should be the spokesman for that injury. Like
Yeah.
it gets better. He can do it, so you can too, kind of thing.
That's right. Yeah. And then, you know, he could sponsor a lot of things. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm all for it. There was a Jake Berger burger for a while at a Southside restaurant somewhere, but
Yeah.
then there needs to be more Jake
Yeah.
Berger stuff because I'm all in. We're all in. The guy's an all-star. We just
Yeah.
talked about it at length for a solid 20 minutes, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
People are trying to destroy me on Twitter for that take, but
I don't get that. I'm like, why we should be happy about this take. You should want it.
that's right. And PZ points out Jake even had a triple, and he did.
Yeah.
you know, I had
Or
to
as
ask.
Aldo says Jake Berger fries, not flies. So even better. Well done, Aldo. I'll give you the.
Yeah, Aldo's comment makes me think about something I said it the other night when I was looking
And
for
I'm
some
hungry
Jake
now.
Berger cards. I was looking for some
Yeah.
Jake Berger cards, and these guys were all giving me crap. And I was like, you know what? I'm not sure if I'm a White Sox fan or if I just really like fast food because I kept asking for burgers and colas, and I didn't know what I was doing.
Fast food is a great way to describe burger.
Fast
man.
food. Can we give him that nickname? Can we coin that?
Yeah,
Fast food. Hey man, it's got to start somewhere.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we are not properly credited with starting the phrase burger bombs. So
You guys started that?
No,
I don't know if we actually started it.
Jake started it.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened.
But we can take responsibility for their marriage.
We sure
Oh.
can. That is entirely our fault.
They got married the dawn after being on our show. I mean,
that is insane. You think the night before they're like, you know what, after that, let's I think
hey, you know what?
It was very
special
interesting.
bond.
They came on the show from 2 separate rooms, and Jake was out with he was on the IL with illness. And so us seeing them in 2 separate rooms, we're jumping to all kinds of conclusions about this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to get anybody thinking or get in trouble for jumping to conclusions. But, we were taking our guesses, and then we find out they get married the next day. And it's like, oh, they were probably just being traditional and trying not to see each other the night before the wedding.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it's just unbelievable. I mean, so cool. Special bond with the burgers. But
yeah.
Regardless, the guy deserves it. And just real easy to root for. So,
yeah, absolutely.
We've had just so much fun tonight. Sometimes you just can't believe the time flies the way it has. But Missy, we can't thank you enough for spending the whole show with us. We talked about everything from Romy to Jake to Pedro. We had some drinks. Mike's Hard and Shandy's. And you think you were drinking a PBR? What were you drinking before?
Old style.
Old style. Okay.
It's my beer of the summer now.
It's the beer of the summer. I like it.
Yes.
But usually at the tail end of the show, before we wrap things up, we kind of kick things around and do shout outs.
Mm-hmm.
So we can let you lead off the shout outs. And then once you're done with that, we'll let you kind of promote Southside Behavior and whatever else you got going on.
Oh man, shout outs. Guess shout out. I'm gonna shout out my parents. They've been this past week, they, during all of this this past year, of Southside Behavior and me doing a lot on Twitter and them seeing where it's taken me, they've been very supportive, and they even I live with them right now. They were excited about tonight, and I think they're watching. So just want to shout out them. because they are big believers in my dreams and just me in general, very supportive.
Hell
Very
yeah.
supportive. Ever since that Romy's saga has started, they've been very, very supportive and like kind of in on the joke. So that's my shout out this week. And then do you want me to plug too?
Yeah, go ahead. Do some plugging.
Okay. Well, I give my personal opinions on is Missy Carroll on Twitter, all one word, and then SS Behavior for SouthSide Behavior. That's for more of the official general team and me and my friends and all that stuff. So that's all I got to plug.
I believe you also have some new T-shirts you would like to plug.
Oh yeah, I forgot. So we got merch. We got this. I have. You know what? They are an inconsistent team. We've talked about this. So I have also a White Sox Make Me Drink shirt. We have an alternate logo. Yeah, just a bunch of merch if you want to go buy it. There's a link in our it's pinned to the Southside Behavior profile, but also if you go to my link and also that Southside Behavior link, yeah, we got everything. Win or lose, we booze. Forgot about that one too. So if you want to buy anything, we got it. But yeah, all proceeds go to more content. So that's what we got going on. I think that's about it. I think I covered everything.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Missy. Zim, what do you got for shout outs, amigo, before we get out of here?
Oh man, I'm super easy today. Just a big shout out to all my friends and family who have helped over the last couple of weeks with our move and made everything as easy as it could have been. It's still never easy to do, but lots of help goes a long way. Shout out to you, Missy, for coming on our show again. We didn't scare you off the first time, so that's a big win for us.
Absolutely not. Come on.
Hey, some people come on that show and they go, "Those freaking weirdos. We're good." But
we're definitely weirdos, that's for sure.
Yeah, means a lot having you come back for round 2.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll schedule round 3 sometime in the future, this season or next, or
Absolutely.
depends on how off the rails the end of the season gets.
Yeah.
We'll
we may be drinking heavily towards the end, but
That's right. We'll no longer be comparing beers and be comparing, which handle of vodka goes down the smoothest.
Yeah.
And a big shout out to my co-host Joe and Vinny. You guys are awesome. I know Vinny's not here with us this week. He's off on vacation enjoying himself. I wasn't
well
here
deserved.
Last show. It's going to be another one of those touch and go seasons, and then all of a sudden the All-Star break's going to hit, and we're going to have nothing better to do than talk about this crappy team. So,
well, we'll have fun along the way, that's for sure. But appreciate the shout outs, Zim. I'll lead off my shout outs. Of course, I'm going to shout out our amazing guest, Missy Carroll, for being with us all night. Make sure you give her a follow on Twitter at Missy Carroll. That's MESSYCARROLL. And then give Southside Behavior a follow at SS Behavior. You can see those cool shirts that she just talked about, or just see a whole lot of fun going on in the stands at Guaranteed Rate Field. So definitely worth a great White Sox follow. Had a great showing in the 108 tourney. Just all around great person and White Sox fan. So Missy, we can't thank you enough for being with us tonight. I will also shout out my beautiful wife, Catherine, and our almost 1.5-year-old daughter, Audrey, who is unbelievably cute and running all over the place. We have a water table in the backyard that she's absolutely obsessed with. So that kid's soaked every time we go outside now. So it's just a great joy seeing her learn and talk and do all that fun stuff. I have a Great Dane. His name's Maverick. He's 3 years old, and he's just an absolute ham. So huge shout out to him. He's waiting for me outside my door, and I will take him out as soon as the show wraps. And then, of course, the whole chat room. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us all night and being so involved in the show. Our buddy Gabe was in the chat. We love you, Gabe. PZ. Who else we got? Adam Sham. Alexis Lopez was in the chat for a while. Zoe was in the chat. Sidney Brown, my dad, of course, Aldo, Rafael Bravo. I don't know if you saw this comment before, but
I
that's
know.
people,
I saw
Missy
that.
and our Lord and Savior,
Right.
Romy. It's a great comment. And then King Pookie, lots of great people in the chat room tonight. So we appreciate you all for hanging out with us. And last but not least, I'll give a shout out to the late, I can't even talk right now. We'll give a shout out to the master, the barkeeper, the man behind the curtain of the Barroom Network, Aldo Gandia. He lets us do the show every single week, gives us the platform, runs a great network with tons of great shows with Dan and Aldo. You got Mike North, Greg Gabriel talking football. Our co-host Vinny's got 2 shows a week, or 3 if you count this one. Crosstown Crosstalk talking all baseball, and then Bar Down talking hockey. Just absolute dynamite stuff on this network. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube, or follow us if you're on Facebook. You can watch any of the broadcasts if you can hit that subscribe button. And then, of course, if you follow podcasts, anywhere podcasts are, just subscribe to the Ballroom Network. It would mean a lot and help us continue to do what we love to do. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Missy, it's been absolutely awesome. Zim, you're the man. Any last-minute thoughts before I roll those credits? Anything last-minute, Missy, that you want to say?
No, this is great. Thank you for having me. It was real fun.
Awesome. Can't thank you enough. Zim, any last minute comments from you, my friend?
No. Have a great week, guys.
All right. Well, for the South Burbs Hitmen, I'm Joe Mandel. The Mercedes Ninja Star at the bottom of the screen is Steven Zim Zimmerman. And our guest tonight was Missy Carroll from SouthSide Behavior. As always, let's go White Sox. Let's win some games. And we will see you guys next week. Let's go White Sox.